U.S. intelligence agency mind control.
Across Russia, a national day of mourning, following what President Vladimir Putin now calls a total bloodbath. At least 137
Nothing
people
happening here.
killed, with mounting questions about the group who claimed responsibility, the Islamic State Khorasan, known as ISIS-K.
And the risk of attack emanating from Afghanistan is increasing.
No,
ISS,
hang
ISIS
on.
Khorasan retains
Who
the
is doing
capability.
this report?
The National Desk.
Okay, first of all, why would it be the Islamic State of the Iraq and Syria, or Iraq and Levant? Khorasan. It's just Islamic State of Khorasan. It's ISK, not ISIS-K. It's either
it's ISK, yeah.
Like even at the Daesh, it's specifically mainly the Syrian and Iraq version.
And the will to attack U.S. and Western interests abroad in as little as 6 months with little to no warning.
An eerie warning from the commander of U.S. Central
Nothing
Command
happening here.
Just before
Nothing
the
happening.
massacre in Russia, but after U.S. shared intelligence with Russia, advising residents to stay away from large gatherings, including concert venues. Which
It
Putin
was
initially
a
dismissed.
Kia.
Lawmakers warning the next ISIS-K attack could hit much closer to home.
You mean CIA?
Russia and Iran. They would love to do what they did in Moscow here inside the United States.
The home base of the terror group.
I love this.
also
You see, it's
back in the spotlight, with
cut out paper, their flag.
Yes.
Right? Because they couldn't import a fucking flag and get caught. So they literally fucking did. Like, imagine these guys going to the craft store and buying the black construction paper and the white construction paper and cutting out all the shapes to make their flag. It's so funny.
It's very, very funny.
Who are they? Hang on. Because I know who this flag is. I want to see who they're identifying these guys as in the B-roll. You were saying, though, before we continue?
I can't remember.
Okay, it's fine. Okay, go forward. Great flag.
Home base of the terror group also back in the spotlight with multiple attacks.
That's right. The guys they got, are they the actual people, we reckon? Or we sus? It's just a couple of random.
Well, they arrested 10 people, and 4 are
was
supposed to be the terrorists themselves.
Okay.
But they even arrested the guy who sold them the van, right? And then they can just be like, "Are these the guys you sold it to?"
And he's going to say yes.
Well, even if it's not under duress, if he can say no, this guy is yes, that guy, but this guy wasn't involved.
Yeah.
Right, because that's what you do. Is like you arrest him being implicated, right, and you give him basically, like, if you're doing a rational. I don't know how Russia wants to do their trials, but if you're rational, you basically are like, that this like happened to be like a terrorist attack. You have to offer him basically a bargain plea deal, and then get him to come forward as a witness against those people, and then you pretty much have a closed case. If you have somebody who sold them the getaway vehicle that's tied to them and he can identify all 4 of them.
True, but he could also be like, oh, fuck, the Russian security forces have got me. I'm just going to say whatever 4 brown guys with beards are the guys and just get the fuck out of here. And it's also Russia, so they're not going to have any due diligence. They just want to head to roll.
I want to see if they name what this group is or if they just keep talking.
I'm a little sus.
Launched against the Taliban by ISIS-K, which was also behind the August 2021 attack.
Because I believe that was the TTP. It looked like the TTP flag, not the Taliban.
Afghanistan. That withdrawal, which was agreed to by former President Trump and executed by President Biden, also assessed on Capitol Hill this week.
I mean, it was executed by the military.
The State Department for poor planning. Some lawmakers drawing a direct line between
the military planned something poorly.
And ISIS-K.
Crazy.
ISK.
The fall of Afghanistan, the way it was done, and the way we left it with no ISR capability, that intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, puts us in danger where this is a new battleground, training ground for ISIS.
One other warning we're hearing about is the situation
Afghanistan?
at our borders. The latest numbers reveal one other.
They were in Turkey, bro.
Where this is a new battleground, training ground for ISIS.
These guys
One
came
other
from
warning we're hearing
Come
about
on.
is
They're
the
not even. They
situation at our
didn't like just
border.
because they're Tajik doesn't mean they came from Afghanistan. Like right away they were saying they came from like the specific republic. I don't know. I haven't looked that much into it.
The latest numbers reveal there were nearly 190,000 migrant encounters, a record for the month of February. And of grave concern right now, there have been 69 migrants apprehended just this fiscal year with affiliations to the terror watch list. Compare that to 0 in 2019 and 3 in 2020.
Crazy. 2019.
Reporting.
That's weird. Did you see that? See how long that fucking out thing was? She was sitting there for a while.
2020. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
That's unsettling.
40 second delay. Something like you got that delay.
All right.
Russia on Sunday charged 4 men it says are responsible for gunning down scores of people at a concert outside Moscow days earlier, the deadliest attack inside Russia in 2 decades. Russian media previously identified the men as citizens of the ex-Soviet Republic of Tajikistan living in Russia. After unverified and brutal videos of the suspects' interrogations circulated on social media, courtroom images and video published by Russian media showed the suspects bandaged, swollen, and bruised.
So this one guy in the
one man
lower right-hand
disoriented
corner,
and struggling to.
this guy in the chair, the first reports that came out about him said he was dead. And then it's like, oh, he's alive. He just needed surgery on his eye. The picture I saw, his eye is literally popping out of his head.
Oh, cool.
And it's like him on the ground. So they fucking like knocked his eye out. That they fucking like.
Do you expect anything less from Russia?
Yeah. But like the dude is literally in a coma on trial.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It's Russia.
The suspects bandaged, swollen, and bruised, with one man disoriented and struggling to keep his eyes open. A Moscow court said the 4 suspects charged with acts of terrorism would be remanded in pretrial custody until late May, adding that 3 of the 4 had pleaded guilty to all charges. The attack has prompted some Russian lawmakers.
Let me guess, the 4th one is in a coma, so he didn't plead guilty.
Earlier in the day, Russia lowered flags
all
to
under
half-mast
duress
for a day of mourning, and people continued to lay flowers in memory of those killed. By Sunday night, the death toll had risen to 137, with over 100 still in the hospital, and some in serious condition. The Islamic militant group Islamic State has claimed responsibility and released footage of the attack, the location of which Reuters was able to confirm.
Don't play it.
Russian
Do not play it.
authorities
Okay,
said the
thank God.
gunmen were captured near the Ukrainian border after fleeing the concert venue on Friday, and Putin, who has not yet publicly mentioned Islamic State in connection with the attack, said that some on the quote Ukrainian side had been prepared to spirit the gunmen across the border. Ukraine has denied any role in the attack. The US has also denied Ukrainian involvement, saying that Islamic State bore sole responsibility.
What would have been
the White
funny
House
is
said
if Ukraine ferried them across the border and then gave it back to Russia. It was just like, hey guys, I got this dude. He did this. You want him? Give us the town back.
that the US government shared information with Russia earlier this month about a planned attack in Moscow and had issued a public advisory to Americans in Russia. Russian officials have bristled at the US comments on the attack and say Russian investigators must be allowed to make their own findings.
Today, suspects appear in a Russian court after the deadly concert hall attack.
Oh, it's a podcast.
Right here.
Yeah, that's a little speaky one.
Oh, see, I figured I'd put a positive story about this attack, right? And like, crazy because like he's you know, like clearly from like more of a Central Asian place, just like the guys who were attacking.
Yeah.
You know, kind of ironic.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Do we think that the U.S. knows more than what Russia thinks is going on? I mean, they're really good at like Russia stuff now. Like they knew they were going to invade. They know what their submarine loadouts are. Like, the question is like if Russia actually looked at the threat and cared enough, because like Russia actually a few hours before 9/11 called Bush and said like al-Qaeda is planning something. So like this, at least we did the return the favor, and he also failed to stop it, just like when he warned us. Iran warned us too. Actually, Iran actually wanted to warn us through Russia. It was on Iran's behalf.
Oh, interesting.
Как обычно, это был рабочий день. Никто не ожидал то, что какая трагедия может случиться. То, что если я буду в шоковом состоянии, я могу потерять.
Okay, it's obvious. We obviously won't be able to say this, but this guy who's literally 15, and like goddamn child labor, right? He like led people through an evacuation tunnel.
Yeah.
His life is, he's young enough that his life hasn't been ruined by the state yet. That's what, yeah, we don't. It's not in English, so obviously we don't need to look at it. I just wanted to highlight something positive at least.
As rescue crews continued the search for the missing Monday, pro-Kremlin media ignored reports that the Islamic State group was responsible for the attack. The director of the propaganda channel RT claims on social media that the Islamic State group's claim of responsibility is false.
I don't give a fuck because Twitter's not a real place.
An editorial on the state-run RIA Novosti says, quote, "The Kyiv Caliphate is launching a campaign of terror against Russia," unquote. Russian authorities have shown several men whom President Vladimir Putin himself alleges were caught trying to flee to Ukraine. Analysts have cast doubts on the allegation.
The border with Ukraine is fundamentally a front line. There are no crossing points from Bryansk region into Ukraine. The border has been thoroughly militarized. There is very heavy presence of the Russian armed forces and the FSB.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has dismissed Putin's claim of Ukrainian involvement. In blaming Kyiv for the attack, the Russian media deny that Islamist extremists have a military objective in Russia.
Okay.
Some observers disagree.
The Islamic State considers Russia one of its main enemies, along with the United States and Iran, due to the wars that ISIS considers holy. Russia was in Afghanistan. It is in Syria alongside Bashar al-Assad until today, and the wars against the Muslims in the Caucasus.
Correct, she's right.
Others say the attack will help the Kremlin justify arguments for carrying out a new mobilization and buildup of its forces, which are under pressure after 2 years of full-scale war. With more than 130 dead, the attack on March 22nd...
That was so funny. The pettiness behind it.
I don't give a fuck because Twitter's not a real place.
No, I'm kidding. Sherry.
Time it would take to, is so crazy. Why go through the effort? Well, because here I am using it as a resource. So it says for current and future reference, a threat on Islamic State attacks in different countries and targets: Algeria, Australia, Austria, Bangladesh, Belgium, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Canada, Caucasus, Chad, China, Democratic Republic of Congo, Denmark, Egypt, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Iran. Does that seem like enemies? Like, oh, they only attack enemies in the US. They only attack enemies in the US. They don't attack Israel. That's because Israel, they don't give a fuck about Israel.
Goes down as one of the bloodiest in the Russian Federation's recent history.
Israel doesn't fuck with ISIS.
Use it as an excuse for Moscow to step up its assault on Ukraine. For the VOA Moscow Bureau, Elizabeth Chernev, VOA News.
Well, there's a VOA bureau in Moscow. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay. stay on this one. This will be the last one for this one.
U.S. warned about an attack a few weeks ago from Fightux. U.S. Embassy alert in Russia 2 weeks ago, warning attacks on large gatherings in Moscow. The embassy is monitoring reports that extremists have imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow to include concerts, and U.S. citizens should be advised to avoid large gatherings over the next 48 hours. Look, I don't know anything about.
Bro, they literally said
concerts. I don't know anything about what happened so far.
Yeah.
Convenient. Very, very convenient. The timing of it, everything. Shooting and blast reported. Here's what we know so far about it. Shooting and blast reported at concert hall near Moscow. RIA agency says at least 3 people in camouflage gear opened fire, while TASS reports a blast and a fire. Redditors are losing their minds on all these posts, calling for even more war crimes. I don't get it. Are they saying that like are they happy that Russian civilians are being slaughtered in a terror attack? Like, I don't get it. Yeah, dude. The random Russians that went to a concert are like responsible for Putin's invasion of Ukraine. It's great. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It's just so crazy.
Crazy.
Crocus City Music Hall engulfed in flames. Videos emerged
Crazy.
from the concert hall.
I'm sure. Like, where isn't there people like that though?
Nowhere.
Fire from automatic weapons as panic Russians fled for their lives. In one video, 3-minute fatigues carrying rifles fired at point-blank range into bodies strewn about the lobby of the concert hall. The attackers also apparently detonated explosives, as the sounds of blasts could be heard in other videos from the attack. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin called the attack a great tragedy. At least 50 ambulances have been dispatched to the site of the attack. The attackers presumably opened fire at the entrance of the building during a concert using automatic weapons, and then a fire began in the building, said emergency services. Authorities said up to 5 people took part in the attack. Russian media reports that riot police units were sent to the area as people were being evacuated. Likely they had signals, intercept indications from ISIS K of an attack similar as in Iran. They warned them just before that attack too. Dude, I'm trying so hard not to do conspiracy theories on this.
Oh my god.
Okay, pause.
Is just like
pause. So what triggered this is somebody just asking, oh, surely they monitor their communications.
Russia or America?
America monitoring ISIS communications.
Surely.
Yes, they do. Like I was there for when this infrastructure was getting established.
Okay.
You know, like, yes, they do.
They know everything they're going to do.
I don't know. I feel I'm not going to say anything. I don't know. I don't know what ISIS Khorasan's backing, where it comes from. It's just very strange. Yeah. The Islamic State of the Khorasan province, right? That's what the K stands for. Very weird. Very weird that they're just popping now. Exactly why you say you don't want to cover breaking news. The worst people take any conspiracy you even mention and blow it up as your take. Yeah, I have
what
no
do you
takes
mean?
on
Very
this.
weird that they're just popping now. What is that supposed to hang on? What does that mean? Why is that weird? It's ISIS. Like the one Belgian shooting was huge. And remember, Hassan, you should know this. A Turk is the guy who saved the day. A regular MMA fighter from Turkey subdued the shooter. He like snuck up on him. And this is on the street in the open. What this guy was going off on people, right?
And he like snuck up on him and fucking
yeah. He like choked him out.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Save the day. That's another one that's like has a really scary moment for me. Like the truck, obviously, in Nice in France is one of the ones that really gets to me. But in this Belgian attack, he's like running down an alleyway, and like there's nowhere. It's like straight walls on either side, and there's like a woman who's trying to hide, but basically it's like a outcrop, right? Like it's like a pillar she's behind, and the guy like runs by, looks at her, and shoots her. You know, just that feeling of knowing that you can't even run.
Yeah.
You know, at least people in the theater, they had the chance to run. Well, not so much the people at the beginning, but
yeah, it's always the people at the beginning that feeling obviously would probably.
But that one also, it has a lot of footage of
really?
the Belgium attack. Yeah, because there's like security cameras and stuff on the street.
I don't think I've seen any of the footage of that one.
That was an interesting one. So it's another mass shooting.
Yeah.
But he's killing while moving. So he went to a specific like district and was shooting people. And again, it's so funny that people are like scared of guns in America and stuff. Like anyone is, it's like thinking that you don't have guns in your country.
Yeah, it's much scarier in a country where the only thing that can save you is the police. In America, any random can have a gun that can stop it.
Well, not in this case. A Turkish guy saved the day. And like Erdogan like gave him a medal, I want to say. For like representing Turkey, you know, being like Erdogan got to claim it as being the one who stopped it while funding them.
Unless it's like literally ongoing, like Israel pummeling Gaza. Obviously, I'm not going to cover something that is like completely new. My money's on some pissed off Ukrainians, to be honest. No, I don't think that this is like Ukrainian dudes at all. I think it's no. I think in the grand scheme of things, like in the likelihood spectrum, it would be false flag before it would be Ukrainians that are able to like grab a hold of weapons and like facilitate such a massive operation like this.
Honestly, so here's the thing:
concisely debunk common misinformation going around about that.
You think it's like, okay, at least he's not being that dumb, recognizing that it's not Ukraine. But his solution is that he thinks Ukraine can't attack inside of Russia while there's an active like insurgency inside Russia. Being led by the Chechen Republic. Right? So there's literally like they're not technically Ukrainians, but they're like affiliated with the Ukrainian armed forces. Right? So they could do this. But they're not terrorists, so they're not going to do it.
They could do it on a military target.
Well, I mean, these guys, that's the thing. I mean, the guy had fucking rocket launchers on him. You know? Like he had a scar. Like he's ready to go. He's ready to fight. These guys had like a weirdly spray painted rifle, and I think they only had one rifle between them all. You know, I've only seen the one rifle.
It was an AK-12 as well, which is
it's like, where's the other rifles? They also found a Makarov.
Interesting.
Can't tell if people are going to be anti-Russian or anti-Muslim on this one, Lamau, you know? Yeah. The shooting at the concert hall was reminiscent of some of Europe's worst terrorist incidents, such as the attack on the Bataclan in Paris in November 2015.
Remember when I said that? I compared this attack to that attack in
the Russian news agency
France.
112, which
the
specialized
shooting
in crime
where they
reporting,
were basically open fired at cafes.
Injured. It was unclear if police had managed to neutralize the attackers by Friday evening, as emergency workers said they had evacuated 100 people who had been sheltering in the building's basement. An eyewitness told the MASH Telegram channel that there were at least 5 attackers and that they were bearded. They act like trained fighters, the account read. At the moment of entering the building, guards and people standing at the door were killed. Then
they would know.
The terrorists are armed with AKM assault rifles, the person said. Some carry unloads with various ammunition. At least 2 of the attackers are carrying backpacks, possibly with Molotov cocktails. Russian authorities had recently carried out a series of raids against armed Islamist militants in the region of Ingushetia, leading to pitched firefights between police and the fighters. Earlier this month, Western countries led by the United States had issued a number of warnings for their citizens not to join public gatherings in Russia. On March 8th, the embassy wrote it was monitoring reports that extremists have imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow to include concerts, and U.S. citizens should be advised to avoid large gatherings over the next 48 hours. The warnings came shortly after Russia said it had foiled a planned shooting by an Afghan group linked to the Islamic State. It was unclear if this was the attack referred to in the warning. More details soon. It absolutely was Ukraine. You cannot say that with a certainty. Ukraine has infinitely more significant things to worry about currently, and I don't know if they have the capability of pulling this off, whereas a third party, in the realm of likelihood, in the realm of possibility, the most likely would be in the realm of
like
anyone can do a mass shooting. Is Ukraine doing the mass shootings here, bro? It's a mass shooting. It's like, what do we mean? It's not a fucking complex ambush with fucking like landmines. Like, it's not like the fucking al-Shabaab attack on the fucking hotel in Mogadishu. That was like an organized like triple car bomb, or like al-Qeada attacks in Mali with the triple car bomb. You know,
it's 5 dudes in an enclosed space going ham. Like, what the fuck? Literally, basically the no Russian mission from.
I love how he reads it like it's his own brain saying it.
Of possibility, the most likely scenario would be an
I do not understand it. It like
group that isn't
hurts my brain
with being Ukrainian and being blown to bits by the Russian forces, and more so like a third party that has genuine interest in opening up pressure to Russia, just like Iran. You know, a third party that has that always somehow suspiciously aligns against America's foreign adversaries, even though they are a terror cell designated as a terror cell. I don't.
What a
the reason why I don't
dipshit,
think
bro.
it's Ukraine is because this is very different than taking pot shots.
Let me like literally, we just like bombed a ISIS commander, right? And Russia nearly took out the drone that was doing that op. Like, Russia almost saved this commander from dying. Like, what a
Almost.
fucking moron saying that ISIS attacks the interest of the United States, the enemies of the United States.
There's people. There's no saving them. They're just fucked. They're broken. Defective.
You know where it comes from? It's because because ISIS sprung up in all these countries that were unstable from the war on terror. So because their brain is rotted, that's what they associate. That's America doing that.
Yeah.
Right. That these countries aren't just unstable. That like al-Qeada didn't have a plan to destabilize the entire region.
Yeah.
Creates more sympathy and gives Putin more of an opportunity to be even more restrictive than he has been thus far, be even more violent than he has thus far. That's why I don't think it would be something that Ukraine would do unless it's like a direct target, like Dugin's daughter. You know what I mean? Like that's an assassination that makes sense, right? It's like we can reach you in your own home. I think that makes sense. This, on the other hand, does not. Ukraine GUR's military intelligence says today's terrorist attacks in Moscow is a deliberate provocation of Putin's security services. We don't talk about it a lot, but since the invasion of Ukraine, many previously invaded regions of Russia have been more difficult for Russians to manage. Relevant? Yeah, I mean, the 1999 Russian apartment bombings are relevant.
Oh my God, no. No, 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 no. There is one source for this, and it's fucking Litvinenko. The dude has not told the truth ever. He was the Navalny of that time. He told the United States whatever they wanted to hear. It's like Falling Gong. Like, no. No.
As that one was, but you have to look at what the goals
No, it
are
wasn't.
here. You have to
There's
look at
no
what
evidence
Putin's
of this.
potential goals might be.
Literal no
But
evidence.
When a
It's
situation like
fucking
this occurs, you
hearsay.
just have to look at who's the party that benefits, who wins, who loses, what are the mechanisms of control. This is how I analyze, this is how I look at things when they happen immediately. Like my first
This is me
instinct
being
is to
unbiased
go,
and not fucking being
these are
conspiracy
rational
brained
actors
about
at
fucking
play,
other shit
rational
too.
actors involved.
And looking
So
at the rational
what is
fucking
the reason?
evidence.
Russia has not been able to focus on the Caucasus in general, like losing control of the Armenia-Azerbaijan situation. I don't even know if they lost control of it, quote unquote, and instead just said to Israel and to Azerbaijan, go off kings. I think they've just more so were like, yeah, fuck it, YOLO mode.
What about
They just didn't give a shit.
Tajikistan? They
Rational
were just
actors are
at a.
dubious
They
assumption
literally
these days,
just had a
no.
like
Even
fucking
if like
skirmish.
the overall.
Do you remember this? That there was a skirmish between those Central Asian countries where they were firing, like it was a border skirmish with Tajikistan, and
yes,
it was a few months ago, maybe a year ago, right?
Yes.
Like, what about that one? Did Russia help there? I think they did. Actually, I think they did help mediate something.
Yeah.
You know why?
All goals of
You know why Russia can't do anything? Because Azerbaijan is actually backed by Turkey. Idiot.
Carousel comes across as irrational. There is a rationale behind it. You might not agree with it, and I certainly don't in many of these circumstances, but like there's still an action and a reaction and something that is basically like motivating people to behave in a certain way. Part of me thought this could be like the 2004 Beslan school siege where Putin uses to seize more power, but like what is there to left to seize? Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like if it's a false flag, the most likely scenario is
Oh my God, they
probably
brought up
what
the
Werger
school
was saying as
seizure.
well.
Shut up.
Losing control over a lot of the territories where there's a lot of dissent. ISIS had longstanding aims to attack Russia since it intervened in Syria and bomb them alongside Assad. ISIS-K is now their most capable force.
Thank you. This person knows what they're talking about.
Among Central Asian vulnerable groups. I mean,
look, they have. Is their name literally News? Can we get that person's name up on the screen? Is it literally News?
Mm-hmm.
This person is who people should be watching instead of Hassan. They were, yes. Like, come on.
Large outside pressure and actively recruit among Central Asian vulnerable groups. I mean, there is motivation. I'm just saying, there's definitely motivation. There's motivation from vulnerable Central Asian groups and dissatisfaction for living under Russian rule. There's certainly motivation for ISIS-K. I think like if Putin were to turn around and be like, this is definitely Ukraine, then you know it's probably not Ukraine. That's all I'm saying.
And
I don't think it's likely that Ukraine would do something like this, considering that like,
this is
I
his
don't
like
see
one
a
of
real
his least
motivation
bad
for it.
takes yet,
Like,
because he's partially right on some stuff.
I think that's like the maximum allotment that they have that they can give to like offensive campaigns inside of Russian boundaries. State Department says it's not Ukraine, so it was definitely Ukraine.
I don't know who wrote it.
Look.
But somebody wrote an article where it's like why Putin will have no choice but to blame Ukraine for the attack.
Mm.
and it's just about like basically like terrorist attacks they're made to like they do it to make the government look weak.
Yeah.
And so Russia either is going to commit to like, you know, people's fear of ISIS inside the country, or he's going to, which will pull away from Ukraine, or he's just going to commit, you know, or something. I didn't really read it, but I don't know. It seemed like an interesting perspective.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?